What is up, y'all? I hope you're doing well. We're here for our weekly anchor message where we're getting our spiritual assignments and lessons for the week. So we have completed the 7 weeks of the counting of the Omer. 49 days of challenge. I could do another couple of weeks, honestly, because I grew to really appreciate the triggers that were coming up and showing me my stuff. And it got really nuanced yesterday. I felt like I had a big revelation yesterday and then also again today, in different categories. Yesterday, I had a revelation about idle tongue being a form of evil tongue, and you think it's benign, and your idle mindless words can land in a very negative way and do damage. And then I realized I made a connection of Venus, love and money are both connected under Venus. So a lot of times your career path or your dreams or your goals, the frustrations and scarcity and lack you might have around those are also mirrored in your love life, right? And so when there are wounds or personality things that are affecting one, it's usually affecting the other too. And so I realized that I was attracting, through my life thematically, I've had difficulties in my love life, for instance. And it's been basically just attracting partners that were not fully committed, or they weren't really super committed to the relationship, right? They might be staying with me for a long time, but they're not really giving their all. They might be flaky but not the fullness, right, of that full committed partner, that devoted partner. Just trying to sum this up quickly. Well, I realized that my inconsistency with myself, my failure to follow through on goals that I set, or habits that I want to start, or habits that I want to break. Anytime that I am flaky and don't keep promises to myself, right? When I don't value what is meaningful to me and make time for it, right? And when I put everything else sort of ahead and I don't value the things that I desire, right? And put everybody else first. When I am not consistent with my goals and dreams, all of that is like me treating myself like a narcissist guy who comes in and out with empty promises, big stories, big plans, but no solid, secure, stable action, right? And so that was a huge revelation that I think when I correct those things and become more consistent with myself, and this is I've done a lot of work on diving into get to know myself deeper, get to know myself on an intimate level, and investing in myself and things like that. But I think that was the last little piece of the puzzle that was missing. That was what is it? What am I not doing that would allow me to merit graduating to this part of my life where these things can be settled and fulfilled? So that was a huge revelation. So the Omer is designed to bring up triggers, bring up things that provoke us to see those shadowy sides of ourselves that are holding us back. And so this grand finale week is culminating in Shavuot. This is the opening it's like a cosmic opening in the windows of time that mark the time period that the Torah was given to the Israelites by God on Mount Sinai. So that began sundown Sunday night, And we're in this period now where we're like connecting with that aspect of the light of the Creator that was in full union with the Israelites, and they had that alchemical marriage of the combination of the spiritual being materialized in the giving of the Torah. So the wisdom, the logos of God, it was like the word of God came out into physical form, and Moses was able to write these into the 5 books of the Torah. Before that, they didn't have that wisdom, that logos had not been physicalized and materialized. And so what allowed them this miracle on at Mount Sinai was the fact that they had just come, that they were just on the other side of the Red Sea, and that had, happened recent enough to where they were still like in this sense of awe and complete 100% faith and certainty and gung-ho and all about it. And they were unified, and there was love and brotherhood and neighborliness between them. And then, so during that time, that amount of faith in God and certainty, the amount of obedience, of alignment with the path and the plan, and their brotherhood and unity allowed them to open the door for miracles to happen. And so at the base of Mount Sinai, they were experiencing the conditions of the Garden of Eden, right? It was like the end of pain and death and suffering. No one was dying during that time. People were having miraculous healings, regrowing limbs, and all of these things. And then we received the Torah. It was when the Israelites started to bemoan their manna. They were complaining. They were like, I'm sick of this food. I'm tired of the discomfort of the wilderness. I'm tired of the uncertainty. I want to get settled down. I'm tired of going in circles. They started arguing amongst themselves, and turning to that animalistic instinct to survive and to take and to be reactive, right? And so when they became that way and they started to sow separation and division between them, that cut them off from their union with the Creator, and thus cut them off from that umbrella of protection and provision. They were at that point, like, it severed the connection and it drew a veil between us, our negativity. And so then that introduced pain, death, suffering, ailments, chaos. And that's when they started to suffer their afflictions in the wilderness. So today and tomorrow until sundown, and starting last night at sundown, this is that window of time where miracles really are possible. And the more that we proactively make an effort to change our ways and our consciousness and to handle things differently, go against our easy nature, right? If you are the person that like shies away from confrontation and avoids like speaking up, and you're bad at handling like confrontation, then for you to correct your tikkun, you need to become better at confrontation and more articulate and sensitive during those moments, right? You need to learn the art of that in a spiritual way. If you're the kind of person that it's oh so easy for you to pop off and get up to somebody's face, tell them how it is or whatever, and you're wanting to say something, then the tikkun correction for you would be to go against that nature and practice a bit more restriction. Pull back. Maybe you shouldn't say so much. Maybe you should think about, maybe not saying something, right? Putting yourself in taking a risk, for instance. If you are a person that takes a lot of foolhardy risks, maybe your tikkun correction would be to temper that a bit and not be so impulsive, and to be more wise and discerning. Whereas someone who is, say, timid and afraid of life, maybe the Creator would send them challenges that would urge them to put themselves out there a little bit more and take a risk and do something that they might feel scared or intimidated or unsure, So whatever it is that comes easy to you, we're usually being asked to stretch ourselves out of our comfort zone and try to pull in the opposite ability, right? Because when you think about the tree of life, we've got the 3 columns. And in order to have the rise of consciousness, the awakening that comes in the central column, we have to balance our virtue and vice, right? And when our virtues are in the extreme, they become vices. So it's like we need to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of sugar and bring balance, right? So that's generally the energy that we're in at this moment. And so kind of, you might have been noticing, like last week, you're like, oh my gosh, things are starting to come together. And I'm starting to have these like real, like next level realizations that I have never, that have never occurred to me, even though I've been doing the work for all this time, right? And so this week, again, is like even more of a grand finale of, thinking about the possibility of miraculous levels of change this week. And this week we're honing in to the nuance of, last week we were seeing more clearly what was in our way and how we were getting in our own way. This week it's like we are getting out of our own way to really align with that higher destiny, that higher purpose. And my Kabbalah teacher, David, even in his podcast this week, he was saying that if there was any week to like change careers, for instance, or like really go after that dream that won't leave you alone, that you feel like it's like part of your calling, like this is the week to get the ultimate support in making that shift. This week reminds me of the Tower card, where the Tower crashes in the tarot, and that's like our false sense of security. Those are false belief systems. Those are subconscious defense mechanisms that give us the illusion of safety and control, right? They might be limiting beliefs that we're holding on to, or religious doctrine that was given to us that maybe we don't feel is true, that we don't feel alignment with, that we don't feel that we might feel comes from other people's projections, right? And so we are letting go of that programming, and we're letting go of our desperation and our fear and our scarcity and our lack and our anger and all of those things that keep us from that unity. Because when we are in unity with each other, and when we are in unity with ourselves, and we are not conflicted inside, we don't have a war going on inside of us, when we don't have tons of unconscious belief systems that are blocking us at every turn. And then when we are not at war with each other, right? We have peace among us and unity. It doesn't mean we can't have disagreements. It doesn't mean that things can't get addressed, right? Like in work environments, sometimes you have to have these confrontations, because if not, then the company starts to suffer and the team starts to suffer, right? So it's like having healthy confrontation and knowing when it's a positive, it's more positive than negative, right? It's not coming from a place of anger, but of a place of builder consciousness rather than destroyer consciousness. So, for instance, like constructive feedback, right? It can feel harsh to get it or to give it. But a lot of times this is what a person needs to be able to be a valuable teammate and to have those job skills and that hireability, and also to not make a sour note in the rest of the team because they are doing a behavior that no one is dealing with that is making it negative for everyone else. Does that make sense? So this week we are primed for miracles. From the wild unknown archetypes, we have the bridge, followed by Anna Mundi, and then followed by the castle. Underneath the bridge, we have the star card, again with us this week, following over from last week. And you'll remember that last week the star card was paired with the temple. And the temple is like the inner temple, our soul, right? The bridge is related to the heart. The bridge here is the bridge between the material and the spiritual. Just like right now, we are the bridge in this moment between the material and the physical. The more that we can become more like the Creator, the more that we have prepared our vessel to channel the Creator's light into the world. And so our healing and our determination to heal our wounds, our ego, our lower self, our shadow self, all of those things, heal our soul, our tikkun correction, that has cleared the bridge that, like when I see this card, the bridge, it reminds me of the heart center. And the heart is like, it's like a brain. It's like a spiritual brain in the body. The heart has an information processor. The heart is intuitive. The heart has it's one step ahead of the conscious mind. So it has foresight. It has predictive talents. But the heart to me is like this bridge that we go through to connect with the expanses of the non-material realm, like the intrinsic realm. So when I think of going deep inside my heart, I almost think of going, the deeper we go in, it's like the further expanse into the unknown, into outer space, into deep space, into different worlds and dimensions and the mysteries and all of that. So the veil, I think the seat of the soul, I think we get there going through the heart. I think that the heart is the bridge between the soul and the mind and our spirit. And so when I see this bridge with the star card here, it reminds me of, I think in maybe the book of Isaiah, when it says, make straight the way for the king, or make straight the way for the Lord. And it's like giving this imagery of like clearing the path to allow the king's chariots to come through. But the meaning is make straight the path, literally that central column. That's a code reference to that. But it's opening up and getting rid of all our negative BS and our baggage that prevents us from having that Christ consciousness revealed in us. Right? So it's make straight the path for the king to come. It's like open up anything that's blocking the heart, right? Unforgiveness, sourness, bitterness, judgment, anything that's causing that division and separation and fear and scarcity, unforgiveness. Those are like roadblocks in the bridge of your heart. And so it blocks the path for the flow of intelligence to come through from the higher self, from the Holy Spirit, from the Christ, right? When we ask for Jesus to come into our heart, it's not like there's like a little tiny Jesus that comes and knocks on a little door on our heart and then he goes in there and lives in there in like a booth inside of our heart. But this is like an acknowledgement that this is the invitation for the Spirit of Christ to work with your soul in order to awaken Christ consciousness within you. And it's our job, it's our duty, our side of the bargain is to take on that cross and sacrifice ourselves on that. Sacrifice our self-righteousness, our indignation, our rage, our not righteous anger that's healthy to protect the goodness of the world, but our pettiness and our vengefulness. We're letting go of that unhealthy, uncorrected ego. And we don't want to kill the ego because we need the ego. We need a healthy, strong, functioning ego. We just don't need a dysfunctional ego, because that is like having... Like imagine a dysfunctional ego is like having a sloppy drunk inside of you, creating havoc, needing a babysitter, putting everybody in danger, total liability. Like the ego will get you in trouble every time, the out of control ego. But a good, healthy ego will also be the part of you that says, you know what, I have something important and worthy and valuable to offer and to say, and it's worth it for me to make get a little bit of attention around myself to put light on, this gift or this offering or whatever. If you don't have a strong enough ego, then you might have gifts that go, unshared because you're making yourself too small, right? So we're unblocking anything that is putting roadblocks in our heart and blocking us from aligning with our higher self, our higher consciousness, our higher destiny, right? Things that are holding us back, and that could be on a myriad of levels. And we have the Anna Mundi card here, which is the oneness of all things. So we have this sage sitting here in meditation, surrounded by all of these shapes and symbols, and this is that moment where you have that flash of enlightenment where you understand that everything is one, and you feel the interconnectedness of all things. This is the oneness that God wants with us all the time. This is the oneness that even within us, in the image of God, our higher self, our spirit, and our soul, and our heart, all of these parts in our mind of our personality, they want to be one. They want to be unified. But our uncorrected self is not unified. Our heart is at war with our mind, and our soul is trying to yank us every which way because it's not fully corrected, but it wants to correct, but it still has its hang-ups, and it's vices. And then then there's our spirit that's just solid and stable, whispering, hello, come this way, everybody just get it together, put down your weapons, just be chill, everybody get in the car, I've got a map. The higher self is quiet. The higher self is wanting everybody calm, quiet, everybody get into unity, and then we're all going to align with our divine destiny that will deliver the ultimate fulfillment, right? It'll leave us feeling, we've worked hard, but we're feeling satisfied. We've given our gifts, and we've done our best. So Anna Mundi, everything, we're all one, we're all connected. The more unity we have, like we said, within ourselves and within each other, the more unity can happen with the divine, right? The less static, the clearer the signal. The more in resonance with two waves, the more those waves can mesh. If the waves are static, erratic, and they have dissonance, then they're not going to mesh, right? So when this unity and oneness is realized, this is when we have the alchemical marriage of the bride and the bridegroom. The inner expression becomes expressed in the outer self, the outer being. The personal development starts to show. The healing starts to come into fruition. Our faith is strengthened, and then gradually the outer circumstances start changing as our reactionary behaviors change. And we learn to have more restriction and be sovereign and use our free will rather than be affected and reactive, right? This is the masculine and the feminine coming together within ourselves. This is our mind, heart, soul, body, spirit finally coming into agreement and alignment. And then it's when that happens, we reach this sort of perfected-ish state where the vessel is then prepared to channel the light through. And then we are connected to God, and that bridge is clear, and then we can channel the light, and we can channel miracles, and we can channel flow, and we can channel divine inspiration and guidance and creativity, and things start to flow with more ease and more harmony and more abundance, and we begin healing, right? Our prayers become more powerful. There's more intention. We're more effective individuals. And then we have the castle here with the Ace of Cups. Now, the castle card talks about, like, the castle can be looked at in two ways. It's funny too, because tonight at work we were talking about castles and how they can be like super cozy or like super like dark and dank and like foreboding. And so the castle for us can be cozy and it can be opulent and, give us this sense of protection and privilege and safety and having everything, being fortified and feeling lavish and separated from the fray and like you're so provided for. So on the one hand, the castle can be positive in that you can feel protected and provided for and safe and secure. But there's also an expression of the castle that can be more negative. And it's like the wall that gets drawn up when we try to close ourselves off and keep ourselves separate and stay protected and keep a wall around our heart, not let people in, to keep ourselves safe. But then you're separate from each other. And when your heart is closed off and shut down, you're not feeling love. You're not feeling soft. You're not feeling unity with others. You're not feeling brotherhood with others. You're not feeling camaraderie or forgiveness. You're not feeling compassion or empathy for others. You're not feeling like a sharing, loving heart or a giving heart towards other people. You're not feeling spiritually generous, right? When you're in this closed off castle, it can actually keep you so safe that you separate yourself and become isolated and you become unrelatable, right? And so what we're wanting to do is we're taking down those walls that we think are keeping us safe. These are those unconscious defense mechanisms, right? And the inner conflicting desires that keep what we really want from coming into our life. So we let go of our false senses of security so that we can have real security. And so when we open our hearts, we think we're protecting our heart by closing it off, but we're really robbing ourselves and doing much more destruction and damage by doing that. We close ourselves off from all of our other blessings. But when we open our hearts and we allow love in and we allow unity and brotherhood and caring and sharing, which might make us feel vulnerable and exposed, that's usually what puts us in more protection and more goodness and more provision from the Creator. Because in that unconditional love and that giving and that sharing, we build affinity with the Creator, and then we draw close to the Creator, and then we're under the Creator's protection and provision and blessing, right? So this opening of the heart, allow it to happen, because then all this new radiance and this new emotion and this new fresh love will come pouring forth, right? And then this will start drawing in more. It's going to raise our magnetism, right? Like, for instance, giving the universe something to go on. Like, so say like you want to call in a romantic partner, and there's no one in your field, no one in your scope that is available or quite right for you. But like, say you, like, there is, like, so say that, and this has been for a while, like, oh, I haven't met anybody in a while. There's nobody really, available, but there are people that I do have interests in. I like this person's personality, or I like this person's looks. And it's like, say there's like one particular person that you have like a little crush on, but maybe it's like not quite right, or they're not available. But that's good, because you can get your heart going, as long as you're not like pining for someone that's unavailable, right? You got to keep yourself sober in this situation, because you don't want to desire someone that's unavailable. You don't want to covet either. But the good part about that is that your heart is active. And so you give the universe some magnetism to work with, whilst also cataloging the features and the criteria and the qualities about this individual that you like, it gives the universe something to go on. The universe is like, great, we've got details, we've got criteria, and now we've got a feeling that now is like turned on their magnetism. So it's easier for the universe to then say, okay, based on these facts, this algorithm, we can now start sending, these specimens, these examples of people in the area that are, that match this frequency. And now that you've got your heart going, there's something that's generating the pull, right? Because if you just know what you like and that's it, but you don't have a desire, like there's no desire stoked and there's no feeling and it's just flat, then you can be sending that signal out all day, but there's nothing magnetic that's drawing something in. So I would say that is like an example of how you can think about how your emotions are magnetic. And then you also want to have like a clarity of what it is that you're wanting to bring in, right? If you have been looking for jobs for a really long time in the job market, and you keep applying, you keep putting your resume out, it's like at that point, like the universe like knows what you want and it knows what you're looking for, but you might have like your heart might be falling out of it and you're not as excited and you're not as passionate about the process anymore. And so you might start losing hope, right? And so that kind of starts flattening your magnetism. Whereas if you can say apply for a job where you're like, there's no way I'm ever going to get this, I'm not qualified, but it makes you really excited, if there's something you can do that gets you excited, then that generates your magnetism. And so this feeling, this new flush of emotional renewal, this is wonderful for manifesting because that's what the universe needs to connect with. It gets your magnet going, right? So allow the heart to open, allow your emotions to be renewed. Don't avoid feeling, right? Let it, do its thing. But you just don't want your feelings and emotions to control you and to control all your thoughts and all your decisions, right? You can still make choices and choose your actions separate from your feelings, but you can let your feelings, teach you and communicate some things to you about things that are happening. But I think it's like with your feelings, you do have to question the feelings. You do have to kind of examine them. You can't necessarily take your feelings at face value because feelings can change and feelings can be deceptive, especially if your heart isn't fully healed yet. So that's why we need our reason and our logic and our feelings and our intuition, our intuitive guidance. All right, you guys, that is all for tonight. I will see y'all tomorrow for our weekly manifestation message. Until then, peace be with you.